So we're still watching the medical examiner discuss the various and horrific injuries that were seen on both the decedents in this case. Now, LaTonya Hines had to leave, and we're sorry we couldn't say goodbye to her. We wanted to make sure we give you absolute coverage of this case. We're now joined by Judge Birmingham, as well as Norman Williams, still with us. Judge, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Greetings from Dallas. It's good to see you again.
Same to you. Now, I know you're quite the busy man running back and forth, so I'm very happy that you're with us today. As we're watching this Eric Boyd case and listening to all of this testimony, man, I can't do anything but just kind of sink in my chair and think of all the horrific things that happened to these people. There seems to be a lot for the jury to understand, but I think it's proving the prosecution's point in some degree.
Well, the medical examiner always is a good spot to give jurors a very factual recitation about how these bodies were found, how they were discovered, and scientifically speaking, a lot of clues about how they got there. And so you're hearing right now about lividity, you're hearing right now about skin slippage. Lividity is relevant because it's going to give you the position of the bodies when they were right near after death. And what's going to happen, I would imagine, is that you're going to see the prosecutors piece together statements that might have been given and match them up and sort of fact check them against the opinions from the medical examiner that they're hearing right now.
Yeah. Now, Norman, maybe I'm a little jaded. Maybe I'm looking into this case a little bit too much, but I'm looking at the clock. I'm looking at the day. It's Friday afternoon, and the prosecution puts on the medical examiner. In my mind, they want this testimony to linger with them for the entire weekend. That's going to make it a hard Monday morning for the defense to come back at.
Also, but sometimes you forget about things over the weekend. You have a good time. You spend time with your loved ones. You go to a party. You go to a barbecue. You go to an amusement park. You come back Monday, you don't know what happened on Friday.
I mean, I might want to go to the barbecue with you if we can't remember what happened on Friday. That seems like a good weekend. It's going to be quite the interesting case. We're going to continue with this medical examiner and more testimony about this horrific death of these two victims after this break. So again, the dive just gets deeper and deeper. I know, Norman, what you were talking about earlier about when you have this kind of medical professional, it can kind of go both ways. It can be very dry and boring, or it can be very well thought out and impactful. At least for this medical examiner, I'm not sure how the jury's receiving it, but it just seems to be cold facts. No dog in the fight, no bias, no nothing. It's just, hey, these people were horribly mutilated.
Right. No, she's definitely in the middle. She doesn't sound like she's bolstering things for the prosecutor. She's just kind of going through very step by step what she did, how she did it, what her findings were.
Yeah, and Judge Birmingham, this to me seems like the star witness. This is the witness, at least for me. I know I come in with my bias as a defense attorney, who's just really making me think, God, this guy's got to be guilty. And I'm almost forgetting some of the other weaker points the prosecution has. How strong is this witness for you?
Well, the medical examiner is always a key witness in a murder trial, obviously legally to prove the cause of death, emotionally. Even though this is flat testimony, some of the pictures and descriptions they're giving certainly do paint pictures for jurors. But this is also the linchpin, the connection between what the prosecutors are alleging, how they're alleging this crime happened. Also corroborating some co-defendant testimony. If a co-defendant says A, B, and C injuries were caused, well then the medical examiner can corroborate or not whether those injuries were present. So it's a physical link between what is said about what crime happened and what the jurors can see about the physical remnants of those crimes.
Yeah, and Judge, a lot of what you're touching on, I think, is a strength of the prosecution's case. Their ability to as you said, corroborate other witnesses to say, when that witness said we, for example, punched the decedent in the face, and then you have the medical examiner say, hey, I saw the injuries that are congruent with punching someone in the face. It seems like this is a strong argument. It's going to be teed up very well for the prosecution. But let's flip it on the other side now. As a defense attorney, when you have such strong testimony in your case, maybe not directly to your client, but in your case, what is the plan here? What's to do, Norman?
Hey, sometimes there's nothing that you can do. Sometimes you just have to sit back and take it because there's no alternative. There's no other explanation for what was found. I mean, as flat as this testimony is, like the judge said, the thing that's so interesting is how everything that happens to the human body, there is some evidence of it on that body. And when a person is killed, there is evidence. The corpse tells a story.
Yeah. And she is definitely telling the story through the decedent's body on the stand. And for more of that story, you've got to join us right back here at Law&Crime Trial Network after this break. So we're pulling out of court really quickly as it appears there seems to be a sidebar in court. We are again diving into the Eric Boyd case where the medical examiner is giving testimony as to the injuries that were seen. Now, as Judge Birmingham has told us, this is the prosecutor's ability to connect what it might have been previous testimony from others who said, hey, these were the injuries that were seen, these were the injuries that were done, I was in the room, I did this, I didn't do this, but Eric Boyd, he did this. You remember, George Thomas, who was a co-defendant, testified for the hope of reducing his life sentence down to 50 years. So what the prosecution is doing is attempting to tell the story both factually but also emotionally. Now, Judge, you had hinted at the strengths of the case when it comes to a medical examiner testifying. Do you feel like the medical examiner is reaching their goal as to providing the prosecution enough information to find a guilty verdict?
Well, whenever you hear a medical examiner testimony, it's quite often that you'll hear some kind of testimony, some line of questioning that is very memorable and very powerful, and I think that we just heard it. And that was that when the medical examiner gave her opinion, it was her opinion that the victim in this case was alive and suffocated and in the trash can. And that is a very sobering statement that she makes, one that I'm sure jurors are going to remember. And as far as a way to recount the way that this victim died and the injuries that she suffered, I mean, this is a pretty drastic, dramatic killing.
I absolutely agree with you, Judge. Now, Norman and I are signing off, but you're going to be left in good hands. The judge is staying with you. Make sure you stay here at the Law&Crime Trial Network for Gavel to Gavel coverage here today.